This week we head to Denali National Park. I think probably at least in the top 5 of our national park visits that we've ever been on, and tell you all the things that you need to know. In fact, too many to fit into this episode. It'll be a two-parter. Plus, we're going to talk about outdoor TVs. Should you have them? Should you not? Do people like them? And why did Pierce Brosnan step off a boardwalk at Yellowstone? And a whole lot more. This is RV Miles.
Since 1912, LL Bean has been helping people get outside together with gear tips and advice for exploring all the possibilities of the outdoors all year long. LL Bean's founder once said, "If your feet are happy, you're happy." So here's a tip for your winter footwear. Your feet can still sweat even when it's cold, so swap your cotton socks for a merino wool blend. Cotton holds moisture and takes a long time to dry, but wool traps heat and wicks away moisture, keeping your toes cozy. For more tips, easy how-tos, and inspiring stories, visit llbean.com/explore.
Welcome to episode number 303 of RV Miles. I'm Jason.
And I'm Abby, and we are two RVers who have been crisscrossing North America enjoying the RV life since 2016. Here at RV Miles, we talk all things RV and outdoors, from industry news to travel destinations, our national parks, and so much more.
Happy New Year, everybody.
Happy New Year 2024.
I hope you made it through the holidays without gaining too many pounds.
Nope. Nope. Hard pass on that.
We definitely enjoyed a whole lot of food as we traveled to Kansas City and then back here for the new year. We had a good time with the family in Kansas City. And
so much fun and so much good food. We even had, my brother ordered from Giordano's in Chicago. If you've ever been up and had Chicago pizza, then you've probably had something from Giordano's or Lou Malnati's, Pizzeria Uno. Well, he had a couple of those Chicago deep dish pizzas sent to Kansas City so that we could all enjoy them. And I have to ask you, because we didn't really deconstruct this afterwards. Better or worse than when you have them from Giordano's?
Oh, it's clear that it's not the same thing.
100%.
Because what they do is they pack them in dry ice and ship them to you.
Nice and frozen when they get to you. So they're frozen, and then you have to do this really interesting thing. You have to put it in the microwave, and you have to microwave it for 6 minutes before you put it into the oven. And then it's low and slow, like 325 or something. Not that we need to deep dive really too long into Chicago style pizza, but it's expensive to have that sent. So I don't know if I would recommend doing it.
If you're just desperately need it. I've never been, I like Chicago style pizza, but I've never been like I gotta have it.
Well, we argue that it's actually not Chicago style pizza, but
most Chicagoans don't sit and eat it on a regular basis. That's a big misnomer.
When our history of pizza book comes out, we'll dive into why we don't think it's
a good idea.
I know.
Well, I'm sure it doesn't exist.
No, no one's thought of that before. Nobody eats pizza. We could add it to our list of 2024 things that we want to do this year. Yeah. So the list is short. Yeah. It's only 4 miles long at this point. It's fine. Well, anyway, that has nothing to do with RVing other than don't order one unless you're really desperate for a Giordano's. And it was a lot of fun to be in Kansas City with my family and spend Christmas together with all of them. We weren't there last year, so it was nice to be back home and then to have New Year in the apartment here, which if you're watching on YouTube, yes, we're still in the apartment. The work has begun in the studio, and actually probably in the next few episodes, once we get through Denali and the RV show down in Tampa, you are going to see some version of us start to film in the studio. And we thought it would be fun to not wait until it was perfect.
Yeah, it's gonna take a lot of time for us to build a set and get all the stuff. And all I've done so far is patch holes in the walls, and that is taking forever.
Yes.
So there's a lot of little things to be done, but we want to be able to record in there.
We want to get in there
without having everything done. But the big key, though, is that it's such an echoey space. We do need to take care of that first.
But I need to take advantage of how live that space is first there, and go in and maybe break out the old audition book and work through a few numbers, because it
feels like you're singing in the shower in there for sure.
It's so perfect for a singer.
It's terrible for a podcast.
It's awful, horrible. But we thought it would be fun to bring you all along with us. Like, why not, watch this evolution of the space through the RV Miles podcast. It is an evolution of us, and there's a lot of, every few years we like to kind of twist things up a little bit around here, just kind of throw caution to the wind and try a few new things. And we're going to be doing that throughout this year with the podcast. Some things will stick, some things won't. So why not do them in a space that is constantly changing? So here in the next few weeks, even if you're listening to this every once in a while, just pop over to the RV Miles podcast on YouTube, and you'll get an opportunity to see what the space is looking like as we build out this new studio and patch a lot of holes. So many holes in the wall.
I wanted to kick the show off this week with a discussion that's been happening over in the RV Miles Facebook group that I found interesting. Our friend of the show, Emily, posted this. Emily has been with us for a long time. She is
big helper at RV Miles.
She's one of our moderators in the Facebook groups. She took photos of us at the homecoming. She's very fantastic, and she has a new social media page. I'll give her a plug for. I don't know if she's on all the platforms, but I do follow her on Facebook. It's called Have You Been?
It's fun,
and she does these really interesting posts about destinations, and then with the prompt, have you been, and getting feedback from folks that have been there.
But she's great.
Posted in the RV Miles Facebook group about outdoor TVs, asking for opinions on outdoor TVs on RVs. Do people find them really annoying or not? And I actually don't know Emily's reasoning behind asking this question. If
other than to get 79 comments.
If they want one, or they don't, or it's a marital discussion, or what, or she just can't stand them as a campground. I don't know. Or
she's just them. Asking. She kind of knew maybe this week we needed a topic in the A block, and she was like, let me just give this to Jason and Abby to talk about.
So there are a lot of great comments in here, and I think, we could read a couple, like our friend Tony over at Stressless Camping, who said only when they're turned on.
Otherwise, what is the point of your outdoor TV? So maybe we can start by sharing sort of our opinions on them. And I will say, I'll let you share, because we are of the same mind on how we feel about outdoor TVs.
I think most of the comments kind of follow along with this. Is it's really about the sound. If other people at the campground can really hear the sound, then it's not so much fun for them. Now, it depends on where you are and what you're doing. I always try to remember that there's so many different types of RVing. Like our friend Kimberly, who's also in the group, posted about, she's a big tailgater. She runs a website on tailgating, rvtailgatelife.com. So obviously, like a tailgating experience, lots of people have our outdoor TVs, and it's a big part of it. So she's mentioning that. You're at a big, a high-end RV resort with lots of activities outside, and, it's like near a city, and you've got a lot of noise. Like, who cares about it in that sort of situation? So there's all sorts of different scenarios. And I think what it comes down to me is like knowing your surroundings, knowing where you are. You're in a state park campground. It's quiet. It's a dark sky sort of experience. Maybe you don't use it much, or maybe you just watch like a football game on Sunday during the day or something like that. But really it's about just being respectful, like with anything else, like with your outdoor music, like with your conversations, and like with working on your rig. Obviously, you're not going to work on your rig at 10:30 at night and making a lot of noise. That's the kind of thing that I think would bother people with an outdoor TV as well.
Yeah, I completely agree. I will say that we have never owned a rig that's had an outdoor TV. However, some of my fondest memories have been moments that have included an outdoor TV outside, like when we watched the Super Bowl, Kansas City Chiefs versus the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and we were with the Armsteads. They are from Tampa Bay area. They're Buccaneers fans.
We just brought a TV outside.
Yeah, we just brought a TV outside. But we had so much fun. It was Super Bowl Sunday. So, the vibe was very much all about that. But that was a lot of fun. It was a great memory.
I mean, if you're at a campground on Super Bowl Sunday, I think you're going to expect that people are going to be watching the Super Bowl, right? And I think, I guess if I can think back to all of our time RVing, how many times an outdoor TV has bothered me, I can only think of one time. And that time it was somebody that was blaring very loudly. Honestly, I don't even remember which one. It was either Fox News or MSNBC. It was political commentary, which is the last thing people are looking for at a campground, I'm pretty sure.
It's the last thing I'm looking for in general.
I don't think anybody wants to hear that. They want to get away from the news and all of that. Like, even if it's just the news, nobody wants to hear even like the local news playing and all the stuff that's going on. There are people there to get away. So I think it's important to remember I'm at the campground for this reason, and there are many people that are at it for many reasons, but a lot of people that are at the campground are there to get away, and they're on vacation, and they don't want to be bombarded with reality when they're on vacation.
And RVing is a community activity. If you are at a campground, now I know some people would argue that with me. Well, I'm RVing to escape, people.
Being in a campground is a community activity.
Yeah. That was where I was going with this. If you are in a campground with an assigned site, be that state park, federal, a resort, county, whatever, it's a community activity. And so you are a part of a community for however long you are there. And that road goes two ways. So there will be some people whose idea of RVing may not be yours, and there will be others that you align with and you're similar in the way you RV, but you are still a community. So I think with the TV, a lot of the comments in the group here are really about sound, and sound.
Yeah.
And those are all very valid. Just be mindful, like we all should be mindful of, I have a TV and it may not be for you, but that doesn't make it wrong.
Yeah.
So I don't know that I find them annoying. I don't necessarily have a need for one, but I don't mind someone using theirs at the campground as long as they also are remembering that they're a part of a community there. If they're watching something good, invite me over, because especially if it's a football game, I'll come over and watch it with you.
When we were full-time, there were certainly times where I thought it would have been great to have one, especially when there are special events going on, like the Olympics are on or whatever.
I know. We get the Olympics again this year, too.
But yeah, as now a part-time RVer, I don't think I would care as much now.
We're coming out of... I don't want to bring it up again, but I will. I mean, we're coming out of football season. Yeah. So I think that's the only time I would really want to have one is if we're going to be at the campground on Sunday and I want to watch the game.
On some level too, though, I'm okay with like an iPad, right?
Yeah. Well, Jay, I understand you're not playing in the Super Bowl. I am. I know it doesn't mean as much to you.
Here we go.
So... did I mention that?
Did Abby mention the fantasy football league that she's in the Super Bowl?
I didn't realize it's so just normal. I didn't even realize I was doing it. Yes, I'm in the Super Bowl. Jason's currently playing for... What position are you playing for?
I'm playing for fifth.
You're playing for fifth.
Against Henry.
Yes.
And you are playing for first against your dad.
My father. Yeah. Yes, my father and I are going toe-to-toe one final weekend, and then I will have to... No, I shouldn't say that. I just said I was going to have to return the Trombardi to him. The Trombardi will be staying here. It will live with us. It'll be in the background of the show.
Ethan ended up being the one that found the Trombardi trophy. If you don't know, Abby's last name is Trabue, and this is a Trabue family thing. The Lombardi trophy is the big Super Bowl trophy, so this is the Trombardi. And Ethan found what will be the Trombardi trophy. He actually gave it to me as a Christmas present. It's a prayer candle with Travis Kelce on it.
So that's officially, and given that Jason had, I just bumped my microphone in my excitement, given that Jason had Kelce this year who has been really awful for Jay.
That's what happens when you triple team him. There's nobody's
nowhere to go.
Any fantasy points. So.
Nowhere to go. So if it was football season, having an outdoor television so I can keep up on fantasy football would be awesome. And yeah, if you want to see not this conversation about fantasy football, can you tell we've been away for a few weeks? We have so much to tell you. You can go over to the RV Miles Facebook group. This is where that whole discussion took place. You can share your thoughts on it with the 79 other comments.
And what's great is like what we've tried to do in this group is keep it full of people that are not angry, rude, and mean. So you will see a conversation like this that you might find in other Facebook groups could get pretty nasty. Everyone's very respectful, and I really appreciate the folks that of you that are listening that are there as a part of the group. That's what we love to see.
There are at least 14,000 people using social media right now who are capable of having polite, respectful conversations about things that they perhaps see differently. And that is really refreshing this year already. We're 2 days in. It's fantastic.
Yeah. All right. We're going to take a break. When we come back, we're going to head back up to Alaska. I'm very excited about this episode because we get to go to Denali National Park, which I think was my favorite experience. I won't speak for you and the whole Baja to Alaska journey. I've probably said that about other places that we've been on the way, but I really think Denali was Denali is just the quintessential national park. It is up there with Yellowstone and Yosemite, and in many ways I like it better than either of those. So I'm excited to start diving into Denali National Park in a moment.
We'll be right back.
This episode is sponsored by the Park Wolf app. Ever found yourself in the heart of a national park surrounded by beauty, but unsure where to go or what to see? That's where Park Wolf comes in. Park Wolf is the ultimate app for exploring national parks. As you drive, the GPS shows you what's coming up on the road, and an audio guide will fill you in on what's there so you can decide if it's worth a stop for you or not. Gas running low, looking for a bite to eat or a bathroom break? Park Wolf's got you covered. It keeps track of the nearest gas station, restrooms, food, and pullover areas. And the best part, it works without an internet connection. And if you're a wildlife enthusiast, you'll love Park Wolf's wildlife maps and sighting notifications. So before you set off on your next national park adventure, download the Park Wolf app for your iPhone from the App Store. It's your ultimate guide to national parks. Chances are you've seen them on the road. That's because Blue Ox designs and manufactures the best towing products in the industry. Just look around. You'll find them on highways and campgrounds and anywhere you find people traveling in the great outdoors. Award-winning tow bars, base plates, and brakes, a full line of weight-distributing hitches, adjustable ball mounts, and a new line of fifth-wheel hitches. With Blue Ox, towing doesn't have to be a drag. To learn more about how Blue Ox can make your travel adventures even more stress-free, visit blueox.com.
We're back, and before we jump into talking about Denali National Park, we did want to mention that our monthly live stream that we do for mile marker members, we normally do it on the first Monday of the month, but that was New Year's Day, so we don't do them on holidays, is coming up this Monday, January 8th, and we normally do these monthly for mile marker members, and you should become a mile marker member. If you're not one, you'll get some fun stuff and have a good time with us. But if not, we're opening this one up to everybody, so anybody can listen to this, whether or not you're a mile marker member or not. You can join us on YouTube and comment, and we'll answer questions that you have live and all that sort of stuff. We always have a really good time. It's a lot of fun.
It is a blast. It's an hour long. It's going to start at 9 p.m. Eastern. So that's 9 Eastern, 8 Central, 7 Mountain, 5 Pacific. No, 6 Pacific, 5 Alaska time. And about an hour, we have the best time with everybody that shows up. We laugh. We have we answer questions. We share silly stories about ourselves. But also, every once in a while, as Jason mentioned, we like to make these what we call an all skate, where we open this up to everybody who spends any part of their time with RV Miles and they want to come spend an hour with us and learn a little bit more about what it means to be a mile marker member. There are some things for mile marker members that are changing in 2024, which we're going to announce that night during the live. So you're going to get to be some of the first people to hear what being a mile marker member in 2024 is going to look like. So we do hope that even if you're not interested in being a mile marker member, you just come and join us on January 8th. Let's start the year off right with a nice big community, have a good time together, and really ring in 2024 here at RV Miles. So we will post all of this information in the description, but the very best way to know, because we will be sending this out to the newsletter, is to go to rvmiles.com/mailing list, join that. We'll send out an e-blast with all of the information. And that is also a really great way to find out exactly how we can all connect if you're going to Tampa when we're going to be in Tampa, because we are waiting to hear still from the Super Show as to whether or not they can give us dedicated space that Wednesday or Thursday of the show. So rvmiles.com/mailing list. That is where you will be the first to hear about all of these upcoming events here this month.
All right. Denali National Park.
Let's do this.
This is such a huge place.
Oh my goodness.
So we have broken this up into 2 episodes. In fact, there will be a little bit about Denali on the 3rd episode. This episode, we're going to talk about actually being in Denali National Park, and the next one, we're going to mainly talk about the Frontcountry area and what you would do if you visit for a few days, maybe, in this episode. And in the next one, it'll be more about the backcountry areas and the stuff you can do in town. And then after that, we'll be talking about Talkeetna at some point, which is another gateway town to Denali on the entire other side, where we actually could see the mountain even better over there. But
and Talkeetna might have been one of my favorite times in Alaska. That weekend was amazing.
But for this episode, we're going to talk about Denali National Park and Preserve, just mainly an overview and the stuff that everybody's really going to do when they get there. So Denali, if you don't know, is a big old mountain. It is the highest peak in North America. It is actually the tallest mountain in the world, although there are just many different ways to look at what the tallest mountain is in the world. It's not the highest point in the world, obviously. But from base to tip, from the base to the summit, it's actually taller than Mount Everest.
Yeah.
It's just not a higher peak than Mount Everest above sea level.
Yeah, it's actually 3,000 feet.
3,000 feet higher.
Higher
it
than
is
Everest.
Big old mountain.
Yes.
And it is an elusive mountain. When you visit Denali, Denali is one of those national parks. I like to really point this out every time a national park is named for something, but there's so much more there. Like Joshua Tree is not about the trees. I mean, that's part of it.
It's part of it.
Right. But there's so much more than the trees, right? Denali is so much more than the mountain. And in fact, most people call it the mountain. So Denali is the park. The locals call Denali Mountain the mountain. Only 30% of people who visit Denali National Park end up ever seeing the mountain. And we were there for 10, 11 days, something like that.
Yeah, 10 days, I think.
And we saw it. We did not see it very much. Very, very little.
Well, and we're going to talk about this with the backcountry because we did some backcountry hiking while we were there. The backcountry hiking program that I went on, we had a phenomenal view when we hit mile 9 that just, when you see it and it just stops everything. And I was so disappointed because we never really got that again until we got to Talkeetna, and then we got some like spectacular views of the mountain. But
the issue is it's just so big, its head's in the clouds all the time.
Oh,
it's like, it's like when you get up above up in cruising altitude on an airplane and you're above everything. So if you really want to see Denali, it's like way back in the park. So wherever you're going to see it is mostly going to be distant views. Unless you're getting on a helicopter tour or something where you're pretty much guaranteed to see it because they're getting high up there, or an airplane tour. Don't count on it, but know that Denali is a wonderful experience that covers a good chunk of the Alaska range. It is one of the best places in the country to see wildlife, and wildlife that you can't see anywhere else. So they have grizzly bears grizzlies all are the same DNA, but because of the food they eat in different areas, they look a little different. Mm-hmm. So the grizzly bears are there's a lot of them in Denali, and they're blonde. There is tons of moose. There's ptarmigans, the state bird of Alaska. There's Dall sheep. There's caribou. We got some up close encounters with caribou.
Very up close with the caribou.
And there's technically wolves. You're not going to see them. Our bus driver one time told us that he heard about maybe someone seeing one once last year. It's pretty rare.
So here's something that I think is attributing to the lack of wildlife that we're seeing in the front country a lot now, way less than ever. And that is because after mile 15, I believe,
no, it's further than that.
Yeah,
but Denali only has one park road.
Yeah, and I know I'm getting ahead of myself, but you brought up wildlife. But
we can move to talk about the park road, because that's a big portion of what Denali is all about. So there's a park road that goes a long way into the back of the park. Vehicles, personal vehicles, are only allowed to go 15 miles in, and you can't actually see the mountain until about mile 9. So staying in the front country with the visitor center and the campground and everything, you're never going to see Denali there. So you at least have to go in at least to mile 9. And visitors can go up to mile 15. Anything after that has to be on a bus. So there are all sorts of different bus tour options. We can talk about them on the next episode. Yeah. We did it a certain way. There's also a couple campgrounds that you can go to. You used to be able to get way back into the park, but there's been a road closure for many years now, because it just collapsed.
There was a landslide. Yeah. And so it wiped out the road at mile 43.
Yeah.
It's quite wiped out.
Yeah.
So a lot of the wildlife now are staying out past 43 because
away from the humans.
Yeah, it has now become this remote and wild place.
There is, we talked to a ranger that biked his way back there. In order to do that, it took him 6 hours of carrying his bike around a mountain. Right?
Brian was the best.
It is the only way that the rangers get back there is on a plane, and they do it just occasionally to take care of the visitor center that's way out there.
Yeah, because there is that second visitor center that's way at the end of the road. And that visitor center had just been built within, I think, the span of 10 years or so, maybe even less, before this landslide happened. Yeah. And now they have this visitor center that is sitting out there. It's not being used. They're starting to have issues with the roof and with leaking and all the stuff that's going on.
They have to go up there and snow blow off the roof.
Yeah. They're not, because there's not active maintenance happening. It's an abandoned space at this point.
But if you have avoided Denali because you knew about this road closure and that you're missing much of the park, it's such a big park. There's still so much to do. They are planning on getting a bridge put in and finishing and reopening the road. We were told 2026 is the plan, summer of 2026. Everybody that said that to us was very doubtful of that happening.
They couldn't get it out with a straight face. So the National Park Service, if you go and look, they say that this is going to be done by summer of 2026, that this road will be back open. We're all going to be back down, headed to the visitor center, all this. Every ranger and every staff member, bus driver that we talked to and who shared this story, like I said, didn't have a straight face as they were saying this. They don't expect this to be done in time. There's just too much, and the season is too small. That's really the problem. I know you're saying, but that's 2 years. They have a window to actually do this. And you have to remember, they have one of the campgrounds closed because they have working crews living in that campground in order to not have to drive 43 miles at this 1-lane highway or 2-lane road to get to this. So they have these crews living at this campground that they've closed down, and they have for them. They get such a small window where the weather will cooperate and let them actually get anything done. You're waiting for the road to open, and then the road opens, and then you have to hurry and get going before winter hits again. So it just really slows everything down. But please don't let that deter you from going, because there's so much you can do there.
You must, when you go to Denali, take the park road in. That is the Denali is such a wild and remote place with still easy access, right? And what is great about the fact that the road is closed at mile 15 to private vehicles is that everything beyond that is just the buses, and the wildlife have become accustomed to the buses, and the drivers are really good about, making sure that stays that way. So when you get on the park road in Denali, you're going to see wildlife, and you're going to see some awesome wildlife. So really you want to get out on that park road, but there is a lot to do around the visitor center area.
Yeah. So let's talk about that first. And the first thing you're going to do is, especially if you're an RVer, you should be if you're listening to RV Miles, is you need a campground.
Yeah.
And we did 2 campgrounds at Denali. We're going to talk about the one today that's in the Frontcountry, and that's Riley Creek Campground. Now, you can reserve Riley Creek. It's, as of today, $38.50 for an RV that's 30 feet and under, or $49 for up to 40 feet.
Yeah, so maximum 40 feet. And
they're not kidding.
They're not kidding.
This is one where I say to you, don't mess around.
And what they do here is they don't reserve you a specific site. Mm-hmm. They reserve you a site that is 30 feet or under, or a site that is 40 feet or not under. So what you have to do then is, when you get there, go find an open site
in that color.
Yeah.
In that particular loop that works for you. And it's first come, first serve.
Yeah.
In your designated category.
Yeah. So they know, you're going to have a site available for you, but if you want to really pick one out, you want to get there earlier in the day on your first day there. So in order to do that, we stayed overnight very close to the park the day before,
which we went to the park. We will talk about.
We'll talk about next week when we talk about all
Denali Brewing,
the in-town stuff.
But also, if you're going with a group, now bear in mind that we ended up having to be in 2 separate loops. Jamie and Clay, because we were with our friends, so they were over in one loop. They had found a spot that worked for them, because again, we were all also battling the need for Starlink.
And for some sun.
And for sun, for the solar.
This is a no hookup campground. So
yes.
we wanted a little sunlight, and we wanted some Starlink access. There is cell service there. So you don't have to totally worry about the internet part of it and connectivity if you need that, because there is cell service in the campground. But it's not going to be amazing, right?
No, it's iffy at best.
Yeah.
So we had a couple things that we really had to pay attention to. They do have designated generator hours, both in the morning and in the evening. So we knew that we could run the generator, but we wanted to try and do that as little as possible. So we were looking for a place where we could get some sunlight onto the solar panels. And then also we were working while we were there. So we really needed Starlink for all the uploads, and so we weren't just blowing through the data on our phones. So in order to make that happen, the groups kind of had to split up a little bit in order to find sites that were going to work for us.
It's a lot of trees. So
it's a lot of
Starlink
trees.
And solar is not the easiest thing. And it was never great for us.
No. Right? And it was worth it. I wish that didn't have to be a thought for us, because there were a few sites that we had to pass on that were just so amazing.
Yeah.
But even still, being in a site that was fairly open where we could get Starlink, the sites are so well laid out, and there's just plenty of space for you to feel like you're just kind of stretching out and you're in a national park.
It's a quintessential national park campground. It is a perfect national park campground, other than having no hookups if you really need that. It does have a fantastic dump station, like several lane dump station with water fill and everything. So that's not an issue at all. But what we did is we pulled into the dump station to fill water, dump our tanks, and get ready. And I started doing that while you went in to the office. You don't check in there's like a little gift shop that you check in for the campground at. You went in and dealt with that.
Yeah. Because again, we were trying to maximize our time as much as possible so that we could get over there and look for a site. Because again, first come, first served. So that was very easy to do. Check-in was very easy. It's a nice camp store check-in location. You know, they've got some food in there, like just small things.
Ice cream, souvenirs.
Very basic camp store. It's not your big like visitor center camp store or anything. You're going to find that a little bit further into the heart of the visitor center area of the park. But really great. You're also going to find here pay showers. Yes, they are pay, but they're very reasonable.
And they're decent showers.
Yes. Yeah. Flush toilets will be available there.
Throughout the campground. There's bathhouses as well out throughout the campground that have flush toilets.
And there's laundry service. There's laundry here. It's very busy. A lot of backcountry people come in to do their laundry outside of just who's staying in the campground. It's very much a community space. So that's something to really be mindful. I was able to bike my laundry over, but stay with your laundry, be mindful of that, move it to the dryer, get it out of the dryer. Cause there's ultimately someone is going to be waiting and think like, don't do it all if you don't need to do it all. Someone walked in, I think with, 10 loads and they were wanting to, again, maybe they needed to do 10 loads. You know what? Doesn't matter. I'm not going to bring it up. I said, new year, new me. Just think about your laundry. Just think about your laundry.
The campground is it is a decent way from the visitor center. You're probably not you could drive to the visitor center. There is a bit of parking up there. It is a little bit long of a walk to the visitor center.
I love it.
It was a great biking distance, though.
Oh, I loved walking it. I loved biking it.
Well, the thing I hate about walking to a place like that is like there's a lot of trailheads and stuff up there.
Yeah.
I hate walking to a trailhead. I hate like a mile walk to a trailhead.
Fair enough.
Drives me insane.
Yeah.
I would rather get to the trailhead. But
Fair enough.
There's a bike trail that is perfect for biking up to the visitor center. You could drive up there if you wanted to. And the bike trail links all the loops of the campground and it goes into town. The town is actually, I didn't know what the town name was. I had to look it up today. The town is Denali National Park and Preserve.
Oh, is it really?
Healy is right there as well. There's a couple small towns right there, but actually all the stuff in town. But Abby and I would go into town on our electric e-bikes and get some coffee and scones in the morning.
Oh, it's so great.
And come back in, and there's some beautiful views in town as well, and a lot of shopping and all that stuff that we'll get to later.
Even a rainy, foggy morning in Denali is awesome.
And there's going to be lots of
those. But they are awesome. And the weather was incredibly cooperative for us the whole time we were there.
It rained a little,
but not a lot. And usually if we had fog and a little drizzle in the morning, by the afternoon, it was hot. The sun was out. It was, July. It was perfect. You layer.
There are the mosquitoes are definitely there.
Oh my gosh.
We had especially like deep into the park. Actually fewer. I didn't notice it as bad in the campground, but deep into the park on a day when it's not windy, they get off you when it's windy, but on a day when it's not windy, they like to land all over you.
Yeah, I think if you have listened to anything really from the time we started in Canada to now, just assume
it's constant.
Yeah, just assume that even if we don't bring it up, the mosquitoes are there. They're always there. They never leave you.
Now, one of the cool things about this campground is they had, I think, almost nightly ranger programs in the campground. So there's like, how so many national park and state park campgrounds have little amphitheaters that nobody ever uses for anything? Well, Denali actually uses theirs. Mm-hmm. And we got to go to some really great ranger programs.
And they really do actively use them to the point where the ranger giving the program that night walks around the campground, talks to you and says, "Hey, I'm doing this thing tonight on XYZ. I'd really love it if you guys would come up here and join us." And it is so good at promoting it, and they always had a full house.
They were great.
They were so great.
They were great. No complaints.
No, so accommodating too. Would stay and answer all kinds of questions. Really accessible for the younger ones and the older ones. It really top-notch ranger programs, and I loved it.
So there is like this whole network of trails that are a little bit confusing that goes around the whole front country area and through the campground and up to the visitor center. But if you can figure it out, there are some good walks to the visitor center. And like I mentioned, we took our bikes up. And the visitor center area, to me, is sort of like the perfect national park visitor center area, because you got the main visitor center, and it's sort of like a little village around it with the gift shop and restrooms and bus depot.
There's a little cafeteria
and something. You can go have full meals. There's a full quick service restaurant
for a full meal price.
Very expensive. But it was decently okay food. We had a couple breakfast sandwiches there.
So they have a little coffee kiosk area when you come into this cafeteria, and then they're going to have over beyond that some quick service meals that you can order too. So you can go in the morning and get your coffee if you're doing something really early. It's very lovely the way it's set up. You can plan to spend, if you are like us and you really want to see everything that's around there and really get a feel for this visitor center, you can absolutely spend a whole half day there. The visitor center itself is the hub of where you're going to get all kinds of information from the rangers. They usually have 4 lined up right there at the desk as you come in. If there are any hikes or programs that you need to sign up for, you're going to do that there inside the main visitor center. There is a museum both upstairs and downstairs where you can learn more about the park. Several ranger programs take place in and around there, or ranger-led hikes will start from there.
The movie theater with a couple of films.
Yes.
There were 2 rotating while we were there.
There were 2 rotating. We did a really interesting ranger program while we were there that would ask us, and I think we've actually talked about this on the podcast. It took place right out the doors from downstairs, and the ranger would pose a question to us. Essentially, what upsets you more? Are you more upset, let's say, by someone littering in the park, or someone scratching their name into a tree?
Yeah.
And she would lay all these different scenarios out on the ground. And then we all had to walk to the one that we found the most upsetting.
Yeah, it was really interesting because it was, I guess the whole point of it was really about talking about how some of the resources to combat some of these things, it's complicated in figuring out how to deal with these things.
And it was very interesting to see this group of people where all of us went for what we felt was the most egregious act. Yeah. And then why we felt that way. And it really opened up a lot of good discussions. I thought that was an exceptional program. I would love to see more programs like that in other parks. It really got us thinking.
We also we didn't get to go to it, but they also up in the village area, they have a big lecture hall where they have there's all sorts of research going on in the park all the time, where they have people speak to that sort of stuff. And we didn't quite get over to that.
We didn't.
I wish we had.
There's a whole science center up there too that our young junior rangers can go up there. Of course, there's the junior ranger program, which Henry did. You can go up as well, and there's some science family programs that they do throughout the summer. There is a wealth of stuff to do. There's also some trailheads that take off from there. We did one very short loop trail while we were there. It was called Horseshoe Lake Trail. It's very steep.
Very short. It was,
I guess, a little over a mile.
Yeah,
that to me, when we're going out for a hike, is short. You just get going, and by the time everyone settles in and stops fighting,
but it was
the trail's almost over.
But it was quite the strenuous.
It's very steep down.
Very steep down, which is almost as bad as coming back up. But very steep down
to the lake,
long way down to Horseshoe Lake, and then you walk all the way around the lake and then come back up. And it is one of the best places near the visitor center to go on a hike and see some of what Denali is about. So we go down there and we go on the walk and we see several beaver dams.
Yep.
Very active beaver dams. And we saw a mother moose with her calf.
Oh, it was so sweet. It was safely off in the distance,
but close enough that like you knew she was like where she wanted to be, away from the trail, because there's plenty of people on the trail. But it was really kind of spectacular to see that down there. And other than that, we did sort of walk that network of trails a bit, but that was sort of the main trail we did in this area.
Yeah, we did. A lot of our time here was spent at the visitor center, was spent doing, I think, more front country active type experiences. So we're about to talk to a couple here that we did, which was we drove into the park because, as we mentioned at the top, you can drive the main road to mile 15, and then only buses are allowed from there on into the backcountry. So we did take a drive into the park in an attempt to try and catch the mountain and also to have a picnic. And there are, at mile 15, is also a place you can park to do a trail that is there. The name of it is escaping me, but I know Jamie and Clay and the girls did it. It's a little bit more strenuous than just a walk around the lake like we did.
This is all the Savage Creek area, which is the end of where you can drive. And, as we always talk about, we like to bring in our dinner into the park and
really great dinner out there.
And when we did that there, you've got to be a little careful about food at Denali.
Yes.
It's a very bear heavy place. You do want to have bear spray there. You do want to be very careful about having it on the buses and how you use it. They'll be very clear about that too. But you do want to be careful about how you do food. So we didn't cook our food in the parks this time.
We took backpacking meals and did that.
Had hot water in a thermos.
Yes. But it was lovely because, again, this is a small parking area. It gets very busy. There's very limited space for people who are driving in to go. So doing it sort of towards the end of the evening and then driving back to our campground, the sun doesn't really set. So, it's not like you're driving in the dark, but you're driving back at a time when most people have headed home for the day. You again get to feel like you kind of have the park to yourself a little bit.
Lucky, you might catch the mountain when you
might.
Do that.
Another thing that you can do at the visitor center, is also the starting point, unless you bike over, for the sled dog program.
Yeah, it's close to the visitor center. It's not right at the visitor center. So
it picks up at the bus depot.
They have a free bus from the visitor center.
Yes.
That will take you over there. You can walk over there. You can bike over there. You can drive over there, but the parking is very, very limited.
Yeah, and I'm sorry if I wasn't clear. That's what I meant, is that the bus depot for the bus that will take you to the sled dogs picks up there at the visitor center. So you need to sign up for this ahead of time, I believe. No, we didn't sign up ahead of time. We just got there.
No, you can't sign up ahead of time.
Right.
You have you just have to hope you get on one of the buses, and they do. There's plenty of they'll run an extra bus if they need to. It might fill up, but you want to get there at a decent time. But this is a very, very popular program. If you don't know, Denali has sled dogs because it is a lot of Denali National Park is wilderness, federally designated wilderness. You cannot take any motorized vehicles on whatsoever. So the way rangers get in and around the park in the winter is not by snowmobile for the most part. There are places that they can take snowmobiles, but for the most part, it's via sled dogs. And so there's a very active sled dog program where they have volunteers and staff that train sled dogs. These are Alaskan Huskies, which don't look like the Huskies from the movies.
No.
Those are Siberian Huskies.
Those are not at all Alaskan
What's funny
Huskies.
is we've been to several places where there are sled dogs, and there's always posters from sled dog movies that took place in Alaska.
Disney.
And all of those movies have Siberian Huskies.
Disney was wrong on that one.
But what you can do here is you go see them at the kennels. They're outside and they're very active. You can pet them and see them up close, and they give you a good amount of time to do that. And then you go sit down in a little amphitheater again, and they hitch all of the dogs up to a a summer sled, which is basically like a go-kart without an engine almost. And they pull them across in front of you, and they talk about the dogs and how they hitch up, how they train them, all that sort of stuff. The history of all the sled dogs and everything is really great free program.
Oh yeah, you have to do this. And they will have the times listed over by the bus depot in the visitor center as to the program times for the sled dogs every day. You will want to leave with a sled dog. They are just so charming.
Yeah. It was definitely the highlight of the front country area for us.
Yeah.
We had some amazing experiences though in the backcountry that we will absolutely never forget, and we're gonna have to save those for next week's episode.
No, there's so much still to talk about, but I hope you can hear or you can see on our faces just the joy that we experienced those 10 days in Denali National Park. It is not baloney when people say that this is just one of the greatest places that they have ever been to. It really, really, truly is. And it makes the drive to Alaska. There's so much about Alaska. I mean, everything we've talked about, but Denali is just one of those national parks that really makes you love the national parks, and what they mean and what they're trying to do.
I could spend a whole summer at Denali.
Absolutely. And in fact, that is going to be the conversation of our detour episode, which is the podcast after the podcast that we do every week for mile marker members. This week, we are going to talk about whether or not we would ever RV to Alaska again.
Yeah.
So if you are curious to know whether or not we're ever going back to Alaska, you might want to become a mile marker member. And
it's a serious conversation. And I don't quite know what my answer is going to be too, because it's a big thing.
Yeah. This isn't like, we're not just saying this to like clickbait and get you to come join my, this is something that we have talked a lot about. We were just actually talking about it yesterday with our kids, because that was a conversation we were having with them. Will we ever do this trip to Alaska again? Will we ever go back to Alaska? So if you would like to hear our thoughts on that, please consider becoming a mile marker member. It's just $7 a month, or it's $70 for the entire year, meaning you're going to get 2 months for free for joining up for the year membership. So you can head over to rvmiles.com/mile markers to learn more and to join. And then you will get not only this detour episode for today, but you will get all of the back catalog of every detour episode that we have done to date. So we hope you will come over and join.
Okay, we are going to take another break, and when we come back, we will check the level of our tanks, including 007, getting into some hot water.
007.
We'll be right back.
Be right back.
From Baja to Alaska, our electric e-bikes helped us explore the great outdoors in a fun, easy, and affordable way. With pedal assist and throttle included, plus a convenient foldable design, you can take your adventures to a whole new level. There are lots of e-bikes to choose from, but there's only one Lectric XP, the best-selling e-bike in America. Your electric e-bike ships free, comes fully assembled, and easily travels in stores anywhere you go. Visit lectricebikes.com to find the electric model for you. That's LECTRIC ebikes.com.
Welcome back, and it is time to check the level of our tanks. Our very first Fresh Tank Black Tank of 2024. Jason, what is in your black tank this week?
So we got a letter from Ford, and I think a lot of people got this letter. I think it's anybody with a 2021 or 2022 Super Duty with the 7.3 liter engine. That they're going to give us $100.
$100. That won't even cover a tank of gas, Ford.
They're going to give us $100 because they overstated the horsepower of the engine on marketing materials
by 15 horses.
So
yeah,
look, it's not that big of a deal.
3%.
To be 15 horsepower less. Certainly will never notice that.
No.
However, this is not the first time Ford has gotten caught fudging marketing materials in different ways. So one way they've done it in the past was by doing tow ratings and payload ratings based on a vehicle they never intended to sell. So it's a configuration of the work truck model that you couldn't even buy. And that's how they win. Like Ford has the best tow rating, or, it's that kind of stuff.
That feels like someone else I know who likes to put material out about a certain truck that ends up not being. It sounds like Tesla. It sounds like no, it sounds like Tesla's like marketing model.
Yeah.
Also,
I mean, I think,
is this a trend now? Is this what we do?
Right.
Like
the issue being, however, that Tesla's final numbers when you actually bought it were theoretically correct. I don't know. Ford's not the only one that's ever been caught doing this. I'm pretty sure Chevy and Ram have done it as well. But it's never, it was accidentally too low, you get a little bit more, right? It's never that.
No.
Right? And so this $100 that they're sending folks, it's interesting. So the letter says you have to go to this website in order to get the check sent to you. And what really this comes down to is this is bribe money so that you don't get involved in a class action lawsuit. So that, when you take this money, you're agreeing that you're not going to pursue any further action against them.
So was there an email provided where I could email them and say, how about you give me 3% back of what I paid for this?
Yeah, right. Or
because
at least
that's, let's talk about realistically.
It's about 20 times the cost to the $100.
Yeah.
How about 3% of the price of a 7.3 liter engine? That'd still be like $250 or something.
Yeah. Your $100 just feel, again, it's hush money. We'll see. No one's, not that we're heading to Jansen Law Firm or anything. We're going to talk to them about class action lawsuit, Yeah. But still, there's one way to look at it is good for Ford for getting out there in front of it and doing something for people. They got a whiff of something coming their way.
Another way to look at it is they're trying to protect themselves. And I get both answers.
Yeah.
I just wish this wouldn't happen, because I don't know how you accidentally overstate the horsepower of an engine. You put the truck on a dyno, it's rated for an amount by the third-party engineer that tells you this is what it's rated for. How do you accidentally add 15 to that? And 15 doesn't sound like much, but they're trying to be better than another engine. That's the point.
When you line up all those horses, how are you?
That's a lot of horses.
I know. How are you accidentally counting 15 more horses than are standing there to pull your truck?
You think that's how they do it? They have 100%. They compare there's 460 horses pulling a trailer versus this truck, and let's see what it can do.
They call up the horsepower farm and they say, I need you to send me, we're trying to get 450 horses this time. Can you send me 450 horses? We need to see what that horsepower looks like. And 450 horses show up, except they were like, oh, we thought we ordered 465.
Yeah.
Oh, that's fine. It's fine. Yeah. It's fine. Nobody will notice.
I think back when they got caught with the sort of the towing and payload thing, I can't remember all the details of how it went, but it was the base model work truck that didn't have a center console. I think it didn't even have a glove box. And you literally could not order this truck.
It was missing floorboards. Right. Your feet just dangle.
But no, it didn't have carpet. It's that kind of stuff, right?
Come on, Ford, get with it. Yeah. All right, what is in your fresh tank this week?
My fresh tank is this article that's I found in RV Business. This hotel, the Hotel Elkhart in Elkhart, Indiana.
Ooh.
It's a nice hotel. They are doing something interesting specifically for RVers. It's called the RV Repair and Restore Experience.
Oh my goodness!
So basically, this hotel in Elkhart, Indiana, is where the at least the county and the surrounding areas where 80% of RVs are built in the U.S. And they've come up with this package that is supposed to be specifically for RVers to take your RV to Elkhart. When you're getting it fixed, when you're getting your warranty repair in Elkhart, that you have a special getaway at the Hotel Elkhart.
Hold on, can I you have to read the way this is worded. This is so hilarious to me. Okay,
so the package includes what they say is luxurious accommodations. It is a nice hotel.
Hold on. I'm going to read some of this.
Okay.
You are skipping some of the whoever put this together. This article.
So this, by the way, this is an RV business, but this is from a press release.
Yeah,
so the RV business has not written this. It's a press release.
This press release.
You're about to make fun of it. I want to say that it's coming from the hotel and not our friends at RV business.
I'm not making fun of it.
Yeah.
We literally taught this when we used to teach press releases for theater companies. The language in this is phenomenal. It is, guests enjoying the repair and restore package can expect a seamless experience, leaving their RVs in the trusted hands of Elkhart's premier repair facility while they bask in the luxury of Hotel Elkhart. Renowned for its chic accommodations, the hotel features luxurious King's Down Cape plush mattresses and spa-inspired bathrooms. Now, this is for a 2-night or longer stay, and your package is going to include...
Good thing, because it's going to be longer than 2 nights, I guarantee it.
I hope they got a monthly rate for you.
Guarantee it.
They will have luxurious accommodations, a $25 food and beverage credit to the Corner Bar restaurant. So that should get you a drink and half of an appetizer.
It's going to be your breakfast.
2 tickets to the RV Hall of Fame.
Which is a cool place.
Very cool place.
It's a museum of the history of RVing, and it's got some amazing old RVs from the beginning days. It's really
so
great,
cool. We
experience.
did an episode of the podcast from there back in August of 2021 when we were picking up the Sabre. So I will link to that down in the show notes.
A Harvest host with electric hookups.
I mean, so if you're going to be so busy with your luxurious accommodations here. You do get complimentary parking and extended checkout at 2
Is
p.m.
there a hotel in Elkhart that doesn't give you complimentary parking? This is not like Chicago.
It is a thing now. It is a thing.
Okay. That extended checkout time at 2 p.m. is going to be important too.
It's going to be very
for
important.
Those folks.
But this is way to turn water into wine when you've got to get your
this is my fresh tank here. This is not a black tank.
I know it's not, but can I say the one thing that's missing from this?
Bathrobes. You get bathrobes.
I love a hotel
that's got bathrobes is a good one.
I love a good hotel with a bathrobe. Here's my thing about it though. The one thing that's missing from this, unless I just am not seeing it somewhere in this press release, where's the discount on the hotel?
It's not a discount. You just get extra stuff.
So see, that's what's missing. If you're going to give me this repair and restore package, you got to give me a discount on that hotel, because I'm going to be fighting for the next 67 years to get the warranty repair covered.
That's when you're going to have to go to those extended stay hotels in Elkhart, which there's
a few. Just for this reason, where's their restore and repair rejuvenation package? That's what's needed. I think this is cool. I appreciate that this upscale hotel is recognizing that they could definitely cash in on all of us who have to bring our rigs up there. And, make a little bit of an experience out of it. But they should just shave off a little off of that cost of the hotel, because I guarantee you this is an expensive place to stay.
All right. What is in your black tank this week?
All right. So 007's been busted. 007, if you've not heard, and they're really keeping this.
Yeah, we'll find out more about it when the court date happens.
But not my 007, okay? Because I know that Daniel Craig would never do anything like this, and that is my 007. But for those of you who are big fans of Pierce Brosnan, he was recently cited for walking off trail at Yellowstone and has a court date.
Yeah.
So that's literally all the details that we have.
Yeah, this is brought up in the Facebook group too. So we don't know what he did, what he didn't do. Usually, it's got to be some sort of thermal feature, manner of Grand Prismatic type stuff. When you hear somebody being fined for walking off trail, that they're not giving that to everybody that walks off to go pee on a tree or something, right?
Do you think he tried to pull some 007 where he was just sent me on a mission, and Q was supposed to give me shoes that would let me hover over all of this, but I left them in the Porsche back there in the parking lot.
If you've ever been to Yellowstone, all the thermal areas are really boardwalked. the trail places, when you're stepping off a trail, it's not the same thing. The thermal areas are pretty much all boardwalk to keep you above the crust of them, because you could die. You could step on the thermal areas,
very hot.
Not only damage them, but sometimes there's boiling acidic water below the crust that might only be an inch thick.
If you have listened to 37 Days in Yellowstone, one of the very first episodes of the America's National Parks podcast, you know what happens to someone who gets lost in Yellowstone and spends some time around these features.
You can dissolve a body in some of these hot springs, right?
So this is just shocking to me. I mean, Pierce Brosnan is a grown human that knows better. And unless he was chasing Fluffy out there who'd gotten away from him.
That's the other thing, though, is that when you're in these boardwalk areas, there are signs and signs and signs and signs and signs. I mean, when we were there, we did notice there were a few people stepping off to take photos and stuff. But it
made my blood boil.
We were there for a whole
2 weeks.
2 weeks. And I think we only saw it once or twice. So it's not a normal, I think most visitors are actually pretty good at this.
No, you know what, Pierce? Now you got to spend more time there. Now you got to hang out. You got to wait for your court date.
Oh, can you imagine having to go back to a court date in Yellowstone?
Okay, like they're not going to just be like, sure, we'll just, we can do this in
London.
There's so
many celebrities now, though, that are.
You think he's got a Montana
estates in the Big Sky area? It's very, ever since the Kardashians moved up there, they all got these complexes.
It's fine.
In Montana.
Regardless, he's going to have to leave the 007 compound and come back and face a court trial. He has to stand in
I think he is no longer 007.
Oh, he's not
he
even.
He is now the
He's not.
Mamma Mia Pierce Brosnan.
I forgot that he was in that. He's so bad in that. His singing is atrocious in that movie. Oh my gosh, I forgot that he was in that.
All right, what's in your fresh tank this week?
So my fresh tank this week is Jay and I are doing this really fun challenge that we had gotten the inspiration like a year or so back in like 2022 from Jamie and Clay, because they used to do a cookbook that they would pick with family, and then they would cook through the cookbook for the whole year as a family, extended family. So I had always thought that was a really fun idea, but 2023 was not realistic, and it was a little difficult to really wrap my head around that in an RV, just personally speaking. So this year we were able to do it. We're doing it this year. We started yesterday, and we're cooking through it's back here with all the cookbooks behind us if you're watching in the hutch.
I was going to grab it if it was easy to grab, but it's not. It is not easy to grab.
Oh no, that's because it's actually
it's not here
in our cookbook holder.
It's in your new cookbook holder.
It is. So it is the official Disney Parks cookbook. It's 101. I know. Wow, we're so basic. It is 101 recipes from all the Disney parks and surrounding resort areas, both Walt Disney World and Disneyland. And so we're going to cook through that over the next year for 2024.
I've always been intrigued by something like this, though, too. It doesn't have to be Disney or whatever, but people will cook through The Joy of Cooking or Julia Child or whatever. So I think it's a fun way. Like my parents right now are doing HelloFresh, which we did for a while.
We've done that in the past, yeah.
But ways to excite you about cooking things at home that you didn't plan on cooking before, that you wouldn't have thought about choosing before.
We have cooked at home or eaten at home for almost a week now and not gone out. And if you know us, I mean, that was like crazy.
And being a Disney Parks cookbook, you would think it would all be
really heavy,
very heavy, very bad for you foods. And actually a lot of really, if you know anything about the restaurants at Disney World, they are surprisingly good, compared to what most people think about a theme park.
I can't wait to get there in a week.
So we just yesterday we started off with, I think, the perfect recipe to start off with, Walt Disney's chili recipe.
Yeah,
it's
so
like his own personal recipe.
Walt's chili is what we made for January 1st. But the reason why I'm fresh tanking this is because I really liked I had shared this on the Our Wandering Family social media on Instagram and on Facebook. And I really liked a lot of the messages that I got from it, or the people that commented and said, this is such a fun idea. I might do this too. Or we just got this, a friend of mine, Krista, had just gotten the Ted Lasso cookbook. And she's like, oh, maybe we'll do this.
Yeah.
And I thought, well, that's just a really fun way. And I had said, let's all keep in touch with one another on how we're doing and what we're cooking and share. And I think it's a really great way to have what feels like to me just an excessively fun, challenge for 2024. And if we compete it, if we complete it, we complete it. If we don't, we don't. But we'll have
a few recipes in there that I'm like, not my thing.
I don't know that we're doing the mussels. It's not my thing. But maybe I'll cook them for someone who does, though. I mean, the whole joy of it, and we cooked together. The whole joy was that the two of us went into the kitchen together. And we did this together.
We did this together. And I think so many people, us included, go buy cookbooks and you maybe cook one or two recipes out of them.
I love cookbooks
and never come back to them.
Yeah.
But even sometimes it's just fun to get ideas and be inspired and stuff. But when you force yourself to do this, now look, we've done one, okay.
But I already have our plan for the rest.
When you force yourself to do it, I think it opens up new experiences, and I think that's great.
Or just a goal. I don't say that we're forcing ourselves, because we're doing this because we want to. No one's telling us.
Encourage yourself to do it.
We're excited to do it and see the completion of all the recipes. I already, for 2025, I'm already thinking I would really love to do Alice Waters' cookbook. So if you're doing something like this for 2024, or if you think that might be a lot of fun, come join us. Come share with us. Let us know what you're cooking out of. If you, even if it's, I just want to cook these 5 meals and I want to make sure it happens before the end of the year. I think that's awesome. Let us know. Share it with us in the RV Miles Facebook group. We can talk about it there, or I will be posting photos of us doing each recipe on Our Wandering Family, which has really become kind of a place to just share our wanderings near and far of how we're living life now as a family and exploring this area that we're in as community. So if you want to see that different side of Jason and me and our kids, you can see that over at Our Wandering Family, and you can join the discussion over there too.
All right, that's it for this week's episode of the RV Miles podcast.
Thank you for sticking with us to the end. This was a lengthy one this week, and next week is going to be the same. There's just so much to talk about when it comes to Denali. Of course, if you are enjoying this podcast, we can't encourage you enough. If you would please go over to Apple Podcast and leave us a 5-star review and continue to help us find a whole new generation of RVers, especially as we are getting closer to the kickoff to RV season, as we're all starting to think about our 2024 RVing plans. And don't forget, Monday, January 8th, monthly night live. That is going to be for all of the RV Miles community. You can find that over on YouTube. But the best way to stay informed is the RV Miles e-blast. So rvmiles.com/mailing list. And you can also consider becoming a Mile Marker member. $70 the entire year. You get 2 months for free. All right, y'all, we will see you next week. Please continue to stay healthy, stay warm for those of you in the north, and keep logging those RV miles.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.